Okay, now I'm on air. We are on air. First, William, thank you very much for accepting this meeting. We are very grateful to be
No,
here.
it's a pleasure for me, not at all.
Well, because most of the Italian reader don't know anything about you, could you be so kind to tell you a little bit about your story, when you start writing, which kind of motivation you got, and your experience as a writer, please?
Yeah. Well, I wrote a poem, what I called a poem, when I was 14. And sitting in the living room, I wrote this, and I thought, that's a poem. I have written a poem. It's a pretty awful poem. Unfortunately, I can still remember it. But, and it really started from there. And I found that when I was at school, I wrote what I thought were short stories, and that's how it started. I became imitative, obviously, as you do at that age. There was an American writer called William Saroyan, an Armenian American who wrote short stories. A book called The Daring Young Man on the Flying Trapeze. And he wrote in what he called the jump in the river and start to swim immediately kind of writing. No preparation, just do it. And I fell in love with these short stories, and when I was about 18, I was William Saroyan. He just thought he was William Saroyan. I was writing stories more like William Saroyan's stories than William Saroyan was. And then I discovered Hemingway. And in spite of the lack of big game hunting in Ayrshire, where I come from, I just loved the Hemingway short stories, the precision of them and the concision of them. And for a year or so I was Ernest Hemingway. He didn't know it at the time. And from that, when I was at university, I tried to write a novel, and I finished it at university and sent it to a publisher, but it was only 40,000 words. And I got a very nice letter back saying, this is very interesting and so on, but it's far too short to publish. So I was set in the course of wanting to write, and I left university and started teaching. And I didn't have any missionary zeal. I thought, I'll just do the job till the world beats a path to my door. But the world lost my address, and I discovered that I loved teaching. So I did it must have done it for about 15 years. And I was seduced by the fact that I thought, I'll just do it to make money. And then I thought, no, I love doing this. And while I was teaching, I continued to write, and I wrote a book called Remedy Is None, which was blessedly accepted. The key for me was finding an agent. I didn't know there were such things as literary agents. Somebody said to me, get an agent. And I sent it to a man called George Greenfield, who was quite an important agent in London. And blessedly he liked it, and we had it published. And that was it. I still carried on teaching, but eventually I was making not a lot of money, but enough to let me say, well, I'll just write and try and survive on that basis. So it was, I suppose, a boyhood dream that never left me. And it was a kind of compulsion I had to try and write. And the compulsion has never left me, I'm afraid. I'm still trying it.
I see. Dorothy is one of your first novels, which has been written in 1975, and is a beautiful story of Scottish colliers, right? It is take place during the beginning of the 20th century and the 1920s, right? Does the inspiration of this novel come from your personal life, familiar background, or experience living in this part of Scotland? Because you are coming from a Kilmarnock, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And around Kilmarnock there were a lot of pits. And my father was a miner. The time I was born, he had given it up. I think the experience of the 1926 general strike disillusioned him somewhat with mining, and he became a general labourer. In fact, that was one of the problems of my primary school. They used to give you forms which said father's occupation. I never knew what to put. I remember going home one day and saying to my mother, you know, what is he this week? Because he just kept changing labouring jobs. And she said, just put in general labourer, son. And that was my problem solved. Ever since then I just wrote general labourer. But it was the background that he came from that fascinated me. And also our house was a very talkative household. Many visitors, cousins brought their first girlfriend in to see my parents. And there were endless stories circulating in the house. And I loved it. I loved listening to them. Some bizarre, some funny, some sad. And I remember thinking, you know, they have a Bayeux tapestry which depicts the lives of the titled and the wealthy, and I thought I would like to make a kind of Bayeux tapestry of working class life, because these lives seem to me fascinating and also important, and it was sad that they should be lost in silence. So I deliberately wanted to commemorate the background I came from and its relevance, and that you could live as full a life in those terms as you could with a title or a lot of money. So I wanted to have my working class by a tapestry of stories. And then, so I've always felt I was commemorating the people and the place I come from.
Well, reading the novel Doggy, the reader meets a very interesting writing style. And I have noticed that a wise use of a beautiful, very poetic English in the narrative part of a novel, and a very alive spoken language in the dialogues of the people. Does this choice come up because of a desire of communicating a more actual meaning, actual, how can I say, life story and value of the people?
Yeah, I wanted to, certainly in the dialogue, recreate the kind of vivid dialogue of where I came from, because Scots is one of the things I love about Scottish language is it loves metaphor and simile. It loves concretion. It loves to say things in a concrete way, not in some abstract, airy-fairy way. And at the same time, I love the English language, so I tried to hopefully marry the two harmoniously, that the people spoke in what I thought was vivid and often poetic Scots, but that the narrative was sustained in a kind of standard English. And I just hoped that you could marry the two successfully, that, you know, that one did not jar against the other. Because I thought in writing about the working class background I come from, I could not betray it by translating it into a language that was really foreign to them. And so it was a way of hopefully making the narrative available to non-Scots speakers, and making them also appreciate the poetry of Scots language combined. Whether it works or not is another matter, but that's what I wanted to do.
The result is fantastic. I enjoy a lot the book in the original version, English-Scottish. It's really beautiful. I hope it will be the same in Italian. We try to.
Must be difficult, that.
Yeah, it must be difficult because it is another language, but nevertheless there are the tools, and I know we can do a good job for this. The novel consists of 3 books, and we got the first book where there is a narration about before the First War. The second book is a narration about the First War, and the third book is about after the third. And this special need of choice come from a special need to split in 3 the book, or is why you chose this kind of structure in this book?
You know, it's very difficult to honestly go back and say this is, you know, because in retrospect that's why I did it. It was largely instinctive for me, because I intended to write a trilogy of Doherty books about the Doherty family, and I can't remember. I know that I was intending to bring it up to date. I can't remember for what cunning, creative reasons I decided to stop there. Somehow the book seemed to me complete at that stage. But I would be lying if I said it was a cunning plan I had.
No.
Because I write largely from instinct. And I thought Doherty was going to be much longer actually than it is. In fact, at one point, before it was published, the editor, a lovely man, phoned me and said, because I wouldn't give him the book, you know, I said, no, it's not finished. He said, Willie, I'm going to send in the SAS to take the book off you if you don't finish it now. And I realised then, the book really is finished, but it would have been enormous if my original ambition had been fulfilled. And in fact, what I did then was, when I wrote The Kiln, which is about descendants of the Doherty family, it was not a self-conscious, direct continuation, but it was thematically following on from Doherty, giving a kind of modern version of where such people are now. So it was partly instinctive and partly, as I say, my editor saying, I'm in despair, we have to finish the book somewhere. So it would be false to say I had a cunning plan which I implemented exactly. You know, I followed the sort of demon of the book, and then I realised that is a natural ending. The death of Dan Doherty is a natural ending for the book.
And this is a feature of yours. If a reader starts reading your books, you got the picture that is not only one book. You have to read all the books because the character are crossed in the books. So you got character in one book that you can go in another book and in another book, and they are all
even the Laidlaw books are integral. In my sense of it, anyway. Whether it works for the reader is another matter, but they seem integral to me. They're part of a total statement taken together, and that they are interrelated. I mean, as you see, some characters come in to all the books anyway, but I see the books as a kind of complicatedly coherent statement, but all basically, sharing the same kind of dynamic. They're all eventually, I think, what to me writing means, which is to me writing is a way of trying to understand what it means to be alive, what it means to be a human being, and whatever I write is about that. I mean, to me, the best writer I've ever read is Mr. Shakespeare, because he teaches us what it means to be a person, to be alive, and I think that's the most important thing that writing can do. I mean, I think Shakespeare is so good. If you were stranded on a desert island and all you had was the complete works of Shakespeare, you could live a full life by proxy, because he tells you what it means to be alive.
Yeah, right. I saw another feature in your novel that is this imaginary village called
Greatnock. Yeah.
It's even this one very interesting. Seems that you unite all the world around the village, and this village is all the world. There is this, let's say, osmosis. Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's set in Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
But when I was writing the book and I was doing research with ex-miners, and the general strike in 1926 was the key to a lot of lives at that time. And I was speaking to an ex-miner and I said, the idea of a blackleg, somebody who reneges on the strike. The men go on strike, but he goes to work in defiance of the general impulse. And I said to somebody, what about blacklegs in Kilmarnock? Well, there are many people who returned to work during the strike. And he said, no blacklegs in Kilmarnock, as if you're insulting Kilmarnock. And it struck me, at that time I was going to make it Kilmarnock, and I thought, you cannot traduce real lives, because I was going to have blacklegs in the strike and so on, and I thought, so I have to make it, fictionalize the name. And I made it Greatnock, because Graith is a Scottish word for tools. Things you work with, so the place of the tools, the place of the workman. So that's what Greatnock actually means.
Very
I know that because I made up the name.
Very interesting this, because I don't know Scottish. I try to get through imagination the dialogues and so on. In the dialogue I got the meaning, but in this case I don't got the meaning because I didn't know about it.
No, I don't think anybody's ever noticed that. And I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, I know why you called it that." No, so you're not alone in that. It's a well-kept secret. That's what Greatnock means.
Thank you. So I saw that every single protagonist of Doherty represents an epoch and a behavior. We got the old Con, the old grandfather that's come from Ireland, and then we got Tam, that is a strong man, a father who worked hard as collier and is beloved by the maids of the pit. And so everybody has a different feature. Do you think these characters are still alive in our society, or something changed? There are still these people around?
Yeah, I think the people, a version of those people still survives. I think it's perhaps more difficult to express it in the current situation. I mean, those people, as Doherty says, he said, we've got the nearest thing to nothing in God's earth. All we've got is ourselves. And if we don't survive as humane and concerned for one another, we have no hope whatsoever. And I think that still applies. I think it's less in the forefront now because society has changed so much. I mean, these people had virtually nothing. As he said, we've got the nearest thing to nothing in God's earth. And I think society has become not benign enough, but it has become more benign than it was then. And what I think defined those people was that they had so little going for them that all they could have was their own dignity and their own self-belief and their own fairness to one another. And I think that's still present, but it's more diluted than it used to be, because society is more dispersed and more diluted, and the sense of a coherent identity, I think, in working class life is harder to find than it used to be.
This is something that's come up with another question, because Docket is a social work. I mean, is related to the life of a working class. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting how people like Mick develop his own view of life through the war. Mm-hmm. He was on the front line. He saw how hard it is, the war, mm-hmm. and how it's difficult to survive. Mm-hmm. Going back, he developed his own concept about the life and the world and the society. And we got a lot of points where there is like a struggles against the capitalism. Mm-hmm. There are strong passages, especially when Tom talked to the son Angus. They give you money to work harder, and so you are a capitalist now.
That's right.
And that is something that's let me think. I think this is a core point of the novel, because there is this spirit, this identity that's try to confirm that we how can say we need a wealthy life without being squeezed by big capitals. Mm-hmm. Is this what's come up?
Yeah, I mean, as Tom says, that, you know, if you lose the sense of mutuality where they are, you've got nothing. If you and Angus succumbs to the idea of I can make more money. Yeah. That's all that counts. So he is, in Tom's rather fierce view of things, he's a traitor, he's a betrayer of the tradition that he comes from, and he's a kind of, you know, mental capitalist. He goes only for himself, and to hell with the rest. And as Tom says, if you do that, you know, if we lose the sense of mutuality, we don't have anything at all. If we don't care for one another, there is no dignity to our lives, there is no coherence to them at all.
Yeah. But it's not only this passage, even in another passage, this war, World War I, was a capitalist war. It doesn't bring anything good for the people. So it's really strong, this, let's say, fil rouge in the novel. You got in every passage that we need thinking differently and act differently for the wellness, for the well-being of everybody. If you want to add something, or if you have anything you would like to say to the Italian's reader, it is welcome. That's probably I miss during my interview.
I don't know. I find it difficult to, you know, just out of the blue. You know, I would rather answer a question than pontificate.
Okay, William, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for this interview. And see you soon. And soon your book will be in the Italian bookstore.
I'm delighted about that. Very, very happy about it.
Thank you.